Hey guys, it's Ant-Man here. I'm coming at you with another trade recap. This morning's trade was on MRTX, Mirati Therapeutics. Let me pull in my gap scanner. And here, as you can see, hold on. MRTX was the leading down gapper this morning. Huge down gap at 32.5%, $13 down from yesterday's close. I believe it was failed drug trial results. They are a biotech company, and I believe they had seeked. Is that a word? Seeked? Yeah, we're gonna use that word. They had seeked FDA approval for a drug, and the outcome was negative. So this thing dumped hard in the from the yesterday's close. As you can see, huge gap down, and across the board, all the stats look pretty good to me. The short float was a little bit higher than I like, but everything else lined up, and the daily chart lined up, and everything looked nice. So this was one of my top watches this morning, as was HAS, Hasbro. They were, I believe, an earnings. Yeah, it was an earnings play. I believe they missed. H I'm sorry, excuse me, AAXN was another potential watch. They weren't an earnings play. They were just down. I didn't recall seeing any news, but they were down 4.5%. And what was it? PHG was one that I kind of had on the side watch. It's a one of those dual traded stocks, and I generally stay away from dual traded stocks, only because the of the dual traded nature of them. When our markets are closed, the other markets are open, and that can have a big effect on the price action. So I tend to stay away from those. In hindsight, however, that probably was the best option today to trade, as you'll see when we go over the trade. So let me pull this back out and zoom this in over here, bringing you guys in real close so you can see what was going on. Okay, so here on MRTX, as I said, this was a huge 13-point gap down, and it started to kind of come up a little bit in the pre-market session this morning. And as you can see, it was kind of just flailing around, slowly grinding up, put in a higher low here and a higher low here, but nevertheless, it still looked pretty weak to me. Uh, it was flirting with this $30 level of support and or resistance, key $30 level from the daily chart. It's also a um, a nice round hole number. So my plan on this trade was to wait for a rejection of the $30 level and take this short. And my ultimate profit target would have been somewhere around this level here, the 27.80, 27.90, maybe $28 level. This was also a level from the daily chart. Given that this here does have an ATR of 4, I figured this is at 30, this is 28, 27.80. It's a little over a 2-point move. Should be in the cards. It shouldn't be too hard to attain, especially given the fact that you can see the Qs and the SPY this morning were extremely weak. Quick pop and then just dump. Quick pop and then dump. So I had this in my favor, along with the $30 level here, and that's what I was looking for on this trade. Just as a side note, I'll mention here this 3160 level that I have here in blue. This was the 300-day simple moving average on the daily chart, and that's not a level that I normally use, but since this had gapped down so far on the daily chart, I just wanted to see kind of where it was to get a gauge on the on where the price was to see if this was something I would want to watch. And since this did gap below this level here, it looked like a good play to me. Um, that said, let me just go off screen for a second and pull this in. Bear with me one moment. Over here, I'm going to pull in my entries and exits. And as the title of this video says, not every trade works. And this was one of the trades that looked like it had potential, looked like it was going to work, and then boom, it just didn't. And that's what happens in trading. So, not to be discouraged, don't be despaired. As long as you have a sound strategy that you know works, more often than not, you just have faith in your setup and you take the trade. And that's exactly what I did here. 932 in this candle here. I entered the trade at 29.58 with 1,000 shares short, so somewhere right around this level here. And as this trade came down below the VWAP, I thought about taking some profit, but since the VWAP was so close to my entry and the market didn't look so hot either, I decided to see how much further we can get in a wash before I took profit. Unfortunately, this immediately went green and started to look strong, came back above the VWAP, and let's see here. I took off half at 29.31 because of how this came back. This chart doesn't really illustrate the force that this came back with. This actually popped and then came back and then did one of those back and forth things. So that got me kind of concerned in the trade, and I took off half here and I left half on to see what was going to happen. Hopefully, I was hoping this was going to run back into the 30 and just come back down like this and fail. But that's not what happened here. On the next candle here, where it grew a down wick and was starting to look really strong, starting to hold the VWAP at 29.80, I basically stopped out the rest of my position here. So on the day, I actually did finish very slightly green on this trade. After my first 500 shares of profit, I was up about $130, I think. And then stopping out the second half, I believe I lost 105 or 110. Net on the trade was about 25 some odd dollars, and after commissions, about maybe 21 or $22 on this trade. So, there's always a silver lining. It wasn't a red trade. It wasn't a home run. It wasn't anything spectacular. It was about a $20 trade, but it was green, and green is green, and green is good, as we all know in the trading world. So that was the trade for today, and I just wanted to just do a quick recap on that, and just say that not every trade is going to work out for you, but if you have a sound strategy and you've back tested and know it works, so a wise thing that my mentor Pat told me is that you when you have a strategy and you've back tested it and it's sound, it just didn't work. The market today just didn't agree with what I was doing, and that's what happened today. I actually did end up doing pretty good for the day. I did take a couple of very small size options plays, option contract plays, and which actually ended me on a nice green day. But for my main down gapper strategy, this was the end result. And as I said earlier, it is total hindsight, but this PHG trade was the trade to take today. It was right there for me to see in the morning on my down gappers list here. And as you can see, didn't really give the best entry in my opinion. Maybe you probably could have taken the trade here where it popped up and kind of tried to hit the VWAP, or here too where it popped again into the 9 EMA and failed. These would be two, I guess, okay places to take a trade. Would I go in this full size? I don't know if I would feel, so confident in this, but it's definitely worked out well. It's definitely just rode the 9 EMA all the way down and really gave you no reason to exit the trade for how many points is that? For almost a whole point. So this would have been on 1,000 shares or 500 shares. This would have been a very nice trade. Let's go to the daily chart for a moment. As you can see, you see all this, how almost every single day there's a gap here, and the daily chart is very, very spaced out. This is a dual traded chart. This is the look of a daily chart of a dual traded stock. It has all these gaps, and these gaps are caused by the stock being actively traded in the hours that the U.S. markets are closed. it's traded in whatever other market or markets that it does trade on, whether it's the Australian market or the UK market or whatever, or the Japanese market, whatever the markets out there that this particular stock is on, is is where it's trading when the U.S. markets are closed. And you can tell right away when you pull up the daily chart of a stock, if you have a million gaps like this, it's almost 99 times out of 100 a dual traded stock. So I guess that wraps it up for me for today. So if you have any questions for me or comments, feel free to put them in the comments below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. My name is at the Tony Manji, which will also be down in the description below. And there will also be a link down to tricktrades.com if any of you want to give us a test run and see if you like us or not. You want to come over from if you're in the current room now and you don't like it, give us a go. So all that'll be down in the description below. So any questions, any comments, feel free to let me know, and hope this helped you guys out. Have a great night, guys.